Guys, so today we have Miki Agrawal on the show, and she's phenomenal. She's phenomenal, and she is doing some incredible work. She is a serial entrepreneur. She is the CEO of TUSHY, THINX and Wild, and she is an author of this incredible book called Disruptor. She is literally created a manifesto for the modern woman and men, let's say, as well. So I cannot wait to have her on the show. So let's welcome her without further ado.
Hello.
Hi, Miki.
How's it going?
Welcome.
You look beautiful.
Good, so good. How are you? I wore my hat for you.
I know. I wore my holy shit, we're alive
What do you think?
hat. It looks great.
I love that hat.
Yeah.
I love that.
Well, it's kind of a good time to be reminded that we're alive.
Yes.
You know.
Yes, exactly. So beautiful. Miki, thank you so much for taking this time to be with us today. I know you have so much going on, so thank you so much. I met you at your home in Brooklyn. Do you remember? It was your with quilts. Yes.
Yes.
So yes. Yeah, that's me. That's me. Now it's like coming together.
Come see the robot. Wait, hold on. Come say hi.
Is it Hero?
Yeah. Wait. No. Yeah.
Hi, Hero. How are you, Hero?
Here, can you close the door? Mama's on the phone. Can you close the door? I'm coming soon. Oh my God, he knows how to open the door now.
Let's ask the first question. When you come back, the first question I think that everyone wants to know is, how do you do it?
Oh my God, I'm on the phone. I love you. I love you. I'm coming. Hero, please.
So cute.
You cried.
So this is what happens, you guys, on live shows. Yeah. Who here has kids?
Okay.
Does anyone has kids here? So I'm just going to jump in with my first question for you, Miki, is how do you do it all? I mean, the kids, being the wife, the companies how is this all possible? I mean, you're amazing. But how do you do it?
I feel like, how does everyone do everything? I feel like it's just, we adapt. We're all, just doing our best. I think about my parents, and I cry when I talk to them every week now, because I'm like, I don't know how you had 3 kids in 1 year. I'm an identical twin, and my third sister is 11 months older than us. So we're Irish triplets. And my father came to this country with $5 in his pocket. My mother came from Japan, barely speaking any English. And they basically raised us without any help, without any, nanny or any support system. And my mom decided to stay at home and be a stay-at-home mom, because she had 3 babies within 1 year. And I'm like thinking about just having one and what that's like with just one versus 3 at once. And
absolutely,
I'm always just so in awe. So I mean, for me, like, I have a great team. Like, in the very beginning, obviously I didn't have kids until a couple of years ago. So before that, it was really all hands on deck, just getting the business off the ground, getting the businesses. First the restaurants when I was 25.
The businesses, yes.
Yeah.
You opened the restaurant first, didn't you? And then it was THINX. I think a lot of I think we're very familiar with THINX, and then you have TUSHY. So we're going to get into that, but I love your story, and I really resonate with your story. So I was brought up in London. I moved from Turkey. We were refugees for many, many years in London. Wow. And, my dad was an entrepreneur. And so I got those kind of entrepreneurial skills from him. But my mom, she was also a stay-at-home mom. She looked after me and my brother and didn't go to work or anything. And so I really resonate with your story, especially, like coming from that kind of background. And now being in this sort of world, there's so much appreciation, especially for our parents.
I know. Huge. And it's like, I think about my mom and our moms, the idea of like, as an ambitious person, my mom was ambitious. She was competitive. She wanted to, build a life for herself. And she chose the path of motherhood, which is an incredible path as well. And so it's a choice. However, I also think that it's a choice to do that. And it's also a sacrifice. And so I do feel really, really inspired by my mom for the choice that she made to raise 3 children, to be the CEO of our household, and versus pursuing her own personal passions.
Right.
And so so I think, you know, for us as women in business, it's really interesting to think about just one generation ago, most moms were stay-at-home moms, you know, and it's like only really now women are having bigger, you know, seats at the table and having bigger and bigger jobs. And I think that it's really, really interesting and also important for us to remember that as we move forward in life, because as I feel like so many women right now are getting outraged by, oh, I hear that. Oh, that scares me sometimes. Yeah, the sounds. I sometimes, you know, people get outraged so quickly with the idea that women should have a seat at the table, women should be equal right away. And it's like, women were totally like, that's where they were, and we're on our way, and we're moving quickly. And we're doing, you know, it's going at the pace that I think makes sense, but I think outrage isn't really the way to handle something that we accepted just a generation ago. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It really does, Miki. So yesterday I did a poll and asking, you know, my followers some questions that they had for you. And I have a community where a lot of entrepreneurs, yoga teachers, energy healers, you know, spiritual guides. A lot of the questions were one question was, how do we get started to really start a small business without, you know, having equity, without even, you know, having the means to pay our bills? You know, we've got stuff to think about to survive. How do we even, you know, what's from your expertise and your experience, how would one even start something without even having, you know, that cash on demand?
Yeah. I think right now it's really about step one. It's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? It's like your basic human needs: food on the table, roof over your head, clothes on your back, taking care of your basic needs. And then it's really, you know, going after it. I think it's really, really hard initially to try and start a business without taking care of your basic needs. And so I think that people really, really need, you know, for me, like I always thought about, you know, having a job and saving money that gave me a pool of 6 months of income, of basically income to pay my bills before.
Did you ever work for a company, Miki, or have you always just been?
No. I worked in investment banking when I graduated from college.
Got it.
I was the worst banker on earth.
Got it.
But I sucked so bad. I was like
banker with some style. You cut your hair, by the way, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah, it looks cute. Yeah.
It was always like, one of these people don't belong here, and I was like, I was so not bankery, and so it was interesting. I basically so I think it's important for people to like really, they have to get a job to build up a little bit, if not even 6 months, even a couple of months, where you don't have to necessarily think about paying your bills, where you're at least like you have some income coming in, and then you work nights and weekends on your project. And I think for me, with my restaurants, when I first started out raising money, I was still working. After I left investment banking, I worked in the film business, working as, you know, a production associate, and then producing commercials and music videos after some time. But I really, really worked hard on nights and weekends. And I think a lot of people love talking and love having their big ideas and saying, oh, I wish I can do this, or I really have an idea and I want to do it. But then when it comes down to doing the work, they're like, oh, you know, my friend's having dinner party tonight. Like, I got to go to that. Or, you know, there's a great movie on that I have to see. And like, I just started dating a guy and I want to, like, you know, pursue that for a while. And then all these things come up and all of a sudden someone else starts. It's like, well, I had that idea first. And it's like, well, I mean, what did you do about it? And so I think that a lot of people love the talking, and when it comes to the doing is not as much. And so I think all that's required is literally putting one foot in front of the other every single day. You you know, I've been watching the Michael Jordan documentary. I don't know if you've been watching it. It's called The
I
Last
haven't.
Dance.
No.
I'm just so inspired by him. You know, when he left basketball after winning 3 championships, his father died. He got murdered, which I forgot that story. It was so heartbreaking. And then he left basketball for a couple of years to go and play baseball, because that was his and his dad's dream, you know, as a child. And then he was like, you know, I'm ready to come back to basketball. His first season back, they lost, and then he was tired, and his body wasn't in basketball shape. And so when they lost the playoffs, you know, usually after the season's over, they take some time off to go and regroup. Instead, what he did was his trainer was like, well, see you. When will I see you? And he was like, I'll see you tomorrow. So like literally the day after his season ended, he told his trainer, I'll see you tomorrow. And he basically, from that day on, started playing basketball 3 hours a day. He was even shooting a movie on, you know, Universal Music's movie set. And he still, you know, he would do the film all day, wake up at 7 a.m., like be done at like 9 p.m. And then he would play basketball from 9 p.m. to sometimes midnight, 3 hours. And then before that, in the morning, he'd wake up earlier to do weightlifting to get back into shape. And then guess what happened the following year? Won 3 championships in a row. So it's like, that's what it takes. And most people aren't willing to do that kind of like, I'm freaking like going for it. I am going to dive in, and I'm not going to stop. I'm going to have this maniacal focus until I win. And it's like it's like a championship mentality and a mentality of excellence is a different mentality than someone who's like, yeah, you know, I really want to play varsity sports, or I really want to play, you know, hey, you know what? I made it to the big leagues. I made it to the you know, to the professional league. And it's like, no. Okay, you got there. Now, are you going to be the best in the program? And I think business is the same thing. Like, people start businesses all the time, but most of them fail because they just like don't have that maniacal focus, that absolute precision of detail, that care and concern about every single touch point of the brand and of the idea and of the business. And that's what it takes. Most importantly, number one, it's kind of like going to the gym, or people who are like, I want to get in shape, or I want to lose weight, or I want to like, you know, become more flexible or whatever. Like 95% of it is putting your running shoes on and walking out that door, or getting to your mat and actually landing to the place to get to the work, to do the work. And I think there's too many excuses that gets people before they get to the mat, or before they get to put their running shoes on and get to the gym. So I think that's the number one most important thing, is actually like taking
doing the work.
steps,
Always
taking the steps. I mean, with THINX, I came up with the idea with my sister in 2005. We didn't start working on it.
It's an incredible idea. So can you explain a little bit to the listeners right now, what is THINX? How did you come up with this idea? Because now I'm seeing like everyone's doing it, but it was you were like, you're the OG. For sure.
Well, yeah, thank you. And I mean, yeah, it was born out of a personal issue, just like constantly having accidents every single month. And my sister and I were at our 3-legged race championship title. And in the middle of our championship title 3-legged race at our family barbecue called Agrapalooza, my sister was, we were like running through the finish line, you know, in first place because we're competitors, up the stairs, you know, still tied to each other in the 3-legged race, to the bathroom so my sister can change out her bathing suit bottoms because she started her period in the middle of the race. And as she was washing the blood out of her bathing suit bottoms is when the idea hit. Wouldn't it be amazing to create a pair of underwear that never leaked, that never stained, that supported women every single day of the month? And so that was sort of the idea for that. And then with Tushy, so I came up with the idea for THINX as an example in 2005. Didn't really start working on 2011 because 2005 we also started my restaurants. So 2011 really started working on it, brought in our third co-founder, Antonia, and then we started building it. And then, you know, it took till 2017 or 2016, from 2011 to having the idea, took us 3.5 years to create the product, you know, to create the leak-proof and absorbent, antimicrobial and moisture wicking and making feel good and fit good and look sexy and the whole thing. It was a 3.5, almost 4-year process to actually make the product. And then, so by the time it was 2014, 2015, when we really had our grand launch, that's when we really took off. 2016 was our huge, huge breakout year. And then 2017, of course, And then since then it's been, $100+ million business. And, but it really took time and day. And this is in the very beginning. I raised $0 for a whole year. Nobody wanted to talk about periods. Nobody wanted to talk about, nobody wanted to invest. Nobody wanted to talk about it. It was like, la, 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 shiny, it was one of those things. And it was a really, really fascinating experience to say, like, okay, I believe in this. I need this product. I'm going to put one foot in the other and just go for it every single day. And then same thing with Tushy. Tushy also, we when I started, it was 2014. I just started THINX. And so I basically, and I somehow, in a very fortuitous investor meeting, I raised my first $400,000 in the first meeting. And it was, thank God, because for THINX, it took a whole year, So then I launched Tushy very, very quietly, put a team in place very early. But we're 2020 now. And this is when we had our huge breakout year. We had our first $1 million day this year.
Incredible, Miki. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. And it was just sort of like, but 2014 is when we started. 2015, we were like, kind of go 2016. And then 2017 is when we started doubling our business year over year, 2018, 2019, and then 2020. And this is like day in, day out, work every single day on the project, like really, get the word, educate the customer why bidet is way better than disgusting dry toilet paper. Why it's way better for the environment, why it's way better, the fact that we're killing 15 million trees every single year for toilet paper. Like, the analogy I always give is, imagine if you jumped in your shower, didn't turn the water on, and just use like dry toilet paper to like wipe down your dirtiest bits. Like, people would be like, you are insane. You know what I mean? And so like the indoctrination.
It's education. It's really that educating people of why it's necessary.
Yeah.
And why that needs to stop now.
Yeah. And the indoctrination is so powerful on, on this stuff. It's just like, we shouldn't be talking about it. We shouldn't be talking about purity. We shouldn't be talking about poop. And because nobody's talking about it, guess what? Nobody's innovating in these categories. And guess what? That's a huge opportunity to innovate. And so that's really, really powerful too. It's like, oh, let me look into all the categories that are taboo, see if it's a problem that I want to solve. And then, wow, there's huge room for growth because it's sort of like a behind the closet conversation, and therefore huge opportunity to innovate, improve, disrupt, et cetera, et cetera. So
absolutely. So I agree with you for sure. It's like that continuous work. You have to do the work. You have to do the work, and not just 1 day or 2 days or 3 days. And I'm not seeing any result. I'm doing everything I can, but I'm not seeing anything. But it's that persistence, and there has to be some sort of belief, isn't there? Like that belief and that drive is so crucial. Often people, will look at someone and like try to compare, but no one sees your 10 years or 15 years of what you've actually developed. And like you said, like day in and day out, and constantly just striving for your vision, for your dream.
Yes.
So that's really inspiring. Yeah.
As a perfect example, LaCroix, the drink. LaCroix is a 30-year-old company, 30 years old. And people are like, LaCroix just came out of nowhere a couple of years ago, and all of a sudden they're all over Whole Foods. I mean, it took 30 years for them to really build it. I mean, this is why, like, in my first book, Do Cool Shit, I talk a lot about the 3 questions I ask myself before starting any business. Question number 1 is, what sucks in my world? That's to start with me. Question number 2 is, does it suck for a lot of people? Because a lot of people have the same problem. Every single woman has a period problem. At my gluten-free restaurants, 1 in 5 Americans eat gluten-free. Then period, I started period things. Every woman has had a period accident at some point in their lives. It's been messy for the experience, right? Every woman, yes.
Yes, hell yeah.
and then the third question is, so what sucks in my world? Does it suck for a lot of people? And then the third question that's the most important is, can I be passionate about this issue, cause, or community for a really long time? Can I be passionate about this issue, cause, or community for a really long time? It takes 10 years to be an overnight success. And people keep forgetting that. And it's something that I like to drive home over and over again, because people are like, I'm going to be the next Instagram. I'm going to build my company in 2 years, sell it for $1 billion with 10 employees. We each get 100 million and we're good. That's like winning the lottery, And I think that people build companies to sell them. And it's just not, it's not real. It's like you have to build something because you're deeply passionate about something. You're deeply passionate about changing culture. You're deeply passionate about solving this problem for yourself and for other people. And that's what's going to get you through the painful issues with whether your website doesn't work, or whether your product doesn't get here on time, or whether you have unhappy customers because of some customer service thing happened, or whether you have employee issues, or all the roller coaster that there is of entrepreneurship. You get through it, but because you really, really believe in what this is and what its mission is, and the power of it. And so for me, like, what I always think about business is it's like, you know, we can create the world we want to see. You know, the business that we create is basically circular. I talk about it in my book, Disruptor, which I'd love to
Yes, I have it.
Out. Yay! Yeah.
I have it. It's so good. I'm going to ask you some questions because it's so good. You guys, everyone needs to get this book. Seriously. It's like gems and business and you. It's just, it's amazing.
Thank you.
I read it in like 2 days, Miki. It was so good.
Oh, great.
So good.
Amazing. Yeah, it's been.
Yeah, I loved it.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, it's just that I kind of lost my train of thought. What were we talking about just now? Sorry.
You were talking about the book. You showed the book, and then I got excited. I wanted to show you my book.
I know. Oh yeah. It takes the energy. It takes 10 years to be an overnight success.
10 years.
That's it. And you know, we really, really often forget that of that staying power, of exactly that. It's just that we have to find.
Someone wants to know the title. Disrupt her. Disrupt her, you guys.
Yes. Oh, so what I was talking about was sort of that we want to create a world we want to see through business. And so the idea that I was talking about in my book, in Disrupt Her, was the idea of the circular economy, sort of like how things are circular, like what we create, we can really put out. And the idea is that, for example, when I create a business, right, the idea is like, okay, I'm going to solve a problem for myself. I want to help the planet. I want to help other people. I want to solve a problem for other people as well, and elevate the human experience, elevate the planet, support the planet, and then solve my own problem. And so like that for me is so important. And the idea is, okay, so I sell, for example, Tushy Bidet. Tushy Bidet, I create a product, I sell it to you. You then, you know, fund the business by buying the product, right? And then of that, a percentage of it goes to creating toilets in India that we've now helped 60,000 families in India gain access to clean toilets, you know? And so it's like, we can build something, offer it to someone, give someone a better life. They then give it back to us, and we then give it, and then we're creating a world we want to see. And so it's like, business is an engine for creating a world we want to see. And people forget that. I mean, instead of necessarily like, I'm going to go into government, or I'm going to go into nonprofit, that is one direction. Or you can build a business that has a built-in give back that really creates this generative experience where it's like, I know my father came from India to America. I just learned that he still sometimes has nightmares because as a kid growing up in India, he didn't have access to clean toilets for a number of years as a child. And he still has traumatic dreams about looking for a clean toilet while he has to hold it in and looking, can't find a clean toilet in the neighborhood. And it's like, my heart, like, it was so crazy when I learned that, because I was like, I didn't even know that. And we're helping solve that. We've helped 60,000 families gain access to clean toilets in India. And it's like solving an epigenetic trauma in my family lineage. And I didn't even realize that, you know, it was just like, it's wild. It's wild and powerful. And so I think that, you know, we just, as we keep doing that, we can create the most incredible world if we choose to operate in that way. And so I encourage anyone who's listening to think about business as a circular, you know, energy in, energy out. You know, the story I share really quickly in my book Disruptor is a story of the concept of Indian giving, which is such a terrible term. And the idea is, and I explain why in the book. The idea is that when, you know, in the olden days, the tribes leaders of Native American tribes, anytime a new tribes leader came to a tribe, the tribe leader of this tribe would basically share a pipe with that visiting tribe, and they would share the pipe, and then this tribe leader would give them the pipe, give their tribe leader the pipe, and that pipe would then bring it back to their tribe. And anytime another visiting tribe came to visit them, they would share the pipe, have a beautiful intimate experience, and he'd give it to them. and the pipe would be circulating along the tribes. And then one day, an English settler came to the tribe, and the Indian leader, in the spirit of this sort of ritual, lit up the pipe, shared it with the English person, gave it to the English person to then go and circulate again. Well, the English settler basically took the pipe, went and put it in his home on his mantelpiece as like an artifact that he got from a Native American tribe, and never circulated again. And so one day, a Native American tribe went to this, a tribe leader happened to go to this English settler's house, saw the pipe there on the mantelpiece. He was like, oh, can we share the pipe? And so then they shared the pipe in the ritual practice. And then this Indian leader took the pipe to go and continue to circulate it. And then the English settler was so enraged that he took his artifact, that he called it Indian giving. So it's like you give something and you take it back. But that's what that term means. But that's the historical context of where that term came from, which is why we should stop using that altogether. But the idea of like something being circular is moving, is alive. And when something
that energy is, of course,
is moving, money is energy. I talk about that a lot in Disruptor, that money is simply an energy.
I completely connect with that, because I also think, a lot of, especially, entrepreneurs who are just beginning, there's that resistance of money, isn't there? Like, I shouldn't spend this, or, I don't have this much, or I don't have enough. There's this kind of scarcity. And I always say there's a current behind the currency. There's a frequency. And if you can connect with that frequency of allowing it, like, spend money, don't be afraid, because that money, it needs to flow. The more you actually spend, the more somehow, I don't know how it works, Miki, but it works. And I did a lot of work from it, because, I have also from my family, keep your money, save it, put it in your account for a rainy day. And I've learned, do not let your money sit in your account. Invest in this and this and this and this. And you do an amazing job at that. How did you, from your background, was that also like an issue, money? Was there like trauma around money, or, don't talk about money, don't tell anyone how much, you make, or stuff like that?
I keep a journal, and and in the very beginning of my, this is like from, 6 or 7 months ago, I basically wrote down my sort of like my money energy triggers, around where they basically came from, so that I can better express sort of how to overcome them. And so one of the things there's three things three triggers around money that I've had to overcome. And again, in my book Disruptor, I talk a lot about how to think about investing your money, how compounding actually works, where to potentially even put your money. And it doesn't have to be a lot. It could even be like $100 a month, or it could be $50 a week, whatever it is that you want. I share where you can put it, how it can start working for you. And if you invest now, in 10 years, the compounding gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So I explain all of that in the book in a really, really easy way. And I hope it really helped. It helped a lot of people. So the three triggers that I've had, first was ancestral trigger, coming from an Indian immigrant family. So the scarcity mindset, this real mindset of, I have to save put money in coffers for a rainy day. Sort of like that. I don't know if there's going to be enough. And so that's sort of like an ancestral trigger. The second for me is like being in school. I started in a public elementary and high school. And so I grew up very middle class and totally happy, totally content. But then I went to schools like Marianopolis, which is like a private school, and Cornell University, which is also private. And I really was exposed to a lot of rich people, like wealthy people at the time when I was not. And so that created that comparison. And so it was like that comparison is where that started. So it's like, oh, wait, so am I like compared to them? Am I supposed to compare myself to them? Because it felt like there's a lot of kind of monetary competition, like this fraternity only let rich people. Like, so it's just like, I was like, whoa, like it was a world I just wasn't exposed to. So first scarcity, then comparison. And then the third was becoming an entrepreneur, where, and having to deal with and cower to investors in the past, because not anymore, who had the power at the time. And so for me, it was like a power dynamic struggle. It was a power dynamic trauma or trigger, where it was scarcity, comparison, and power dynamic, where it's like, oh, if you have money, then you can control this conversation, dominate this conversation. And so for me, I remember like, all right, like I'm going to I'm going to find a way to make money. And instead of having to like necessarily like fight like in a very sort of patriarchal masculine sort of way and do it the old way how everyone made money, I was like, I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to make money my way, and then I'm going to invest in women. And so I've to date made 14 or 15 investments, 95% of which have at least one female founder. And so there's a level of, okay, this is how I'm going to see the change in the world. I'm not going to complain about women on the table. I'm not going to complain that 4% of women, you know, haven't been invested in, you know, as an example, Tushy built a $150+ million business. When I went to launch Tushy, after my first investor meeting where I raised that first 400K, it was so challenging after that for me to raise more money. And so I remember going to these meetings as though I'd never built any companies before. And these people would these investors would talk to me like I got lucky with things. And that you know, you got lucky, like you're one and done. Like, I don't know what this Tushy thing is, and totally treated me like I had never built anything. And for example, if it was someone else, you know, who did that, like for example, a guy who say worked in Uber, left, and then started another company, they would raise money like that. And so for me, like, rather than getting really like about it or getting just really angry about it, I'm like, all right, I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to keep putting one foot together. I'm going to find people who are going to believe in this concept, who are going to believe it, who believe in me, either from THINX or from before or from just new people. I ended up raising the money, and instead of getting mad, I was like, okay, like I ended up raising the money because I was like, I'm going to play ball. I basically hired a white male CEO for Tushy. And I was like, all right, I'm going to go have him raise the money. Fine. And so him and I went into meetings together and of course raised the money together because it was like, oh, like white males in the room. It's fine. But again, I didn't get mad. It was like, I'm just going to play ball, and then how I'm going to do it.
You're just going to play the game.
I'm going to play the game. That's again, women just got, you know, like the right to vote less than 100 years ago. Women, you know, again, our parents, our mothers were both stay-at-home moms. Like we're the first like generation of real, like, all right, we're executives. Like we're going for it.
We're the first to do a lot of things.
A lot
I find that a
lot
of firsts.
And so I think outrage just doesn't work. Getting mad doesn't work. It's like, cool, I'm going to play ball right now in the current context of how the money is being distributed to mostly like the old boys club. Cool, great. Let me play the ball. So I basically had this guy, you know, work with me to go or he's my CEO still. I love him very much. He's not one of those, but he just played the figure role. But with Tushy, you know, my company is valued, you know, over 100 million now. I own most of the business. It's like now the game starts, which is really fun because now I get to really invest in more women, more cool projects, and I get to create another world that I want to see. And so it's sort of like that's how the change is going to happen, not by being like, like I couldn't raise the money on my own. These people don't like believe in me. It's like, all right, cool, let's go. Like, let's play the game. Let's play the game as it's played. And then I'm going to change the conversation when it's time. So,
absolutely. It's also, you know, it's same thing for, you know, right now there's also a lot of online businesses, isn't there? There's, you know, the knowledge industry right now is also off the charts. So for the folks who may not have a product and the product is actually them, it's the same thing. You know, I also hear it too. It's like I have a mentoring program called Thrive, and a lot of people, you know, these entrepreneurs, the main question is, well, how do I just keep going? How do I find that motivation when no one signs up for my course or something like this? Or, you know, how do I keep going? And it's, you just have to do the work, keep doing the work, and how to work in a smart way. That's what you did. You worked smart. You know, it's not about working
and hard.
more and hard. Yes, of course, both. Of course, it's always hard. but it is true.
Yeah,
it's totally smart, hard, and it's believing in that mission. If you don't believe in your message, why would someone else believe in your message?
That's
right.
That's
so
right.
It's that it comes from you. It's like,
and you know, in my book, I talk about how to fight the patriarchy authentically, because we are also all victims of the patriarchy too. I mean, women and men also have the patriarchal preconditioning deeply indoctrinated within all of us. We often want men to take care of us. We often want to feel like, you know, like the chivalrous behavior because that feels nice, because that's what's societally acceptable, right? Like we want to be proposed to, we want to be married in a certain way, like we want to have the white dress, and we want to have a seat at the table now, and we want to make this, and it's just like all the, it's like, which, you know, is it both? Is it either? Is it one? Like we're getting there. And so rather than fighting, you know, fighting like in a way that feels a bit double standardy, because we're also all deeply indoctrinated. I came up with the triple Q technique in my book, Disruptor, to talk about how to fight the patriarchy authentically, which is the quip back, question, quip. Quip back means you meet people where they are. And, you know, oftentimes like guys don't know how to like speak the language of, you know, like intersectional feminism. Like, you know, nobody's taught how to be super thoughtful in their languaging of things. They're just taught by how their parents taught them, and then how society, how Fox News maybe taught, or whatever. You know what I mean? So people are learning from what their inputs are. Doesn't mean they're bad people. Doesn't mean that they're like awful and wrong. They've just been taught differently. So rather than getting angry and outraged and marching on Washington, that only creates more divide, why don't we just meet people where they are? But, you know, the quick example that I give in my book is the idea of John Mackey and Whole Foods Market. Whole Foods Market almost shut down its business, you know, within 1 year when it first started, because they were vegetarian, they didn't have any sugar, they didn't offer any coffee. And so, you know, and it's like in the very beginning, like nobody went to his store, and he almost shut his business down. He had a very serious crossroads. Do I continue to be vegetarian and do this stuff, and then or to offer only vegetarian products, no sugar, no coffee, and then get outraged at all the meat eaters? Or do I meet people where they are and offer meat for the very best meat, and offer, you know, sugar and different things, but like the best versions of these sort of foods? Meet people where they are, and then once they're in, I then could teach them about the benefits of a whole foods plant-based diet. And guess what happened? He chose the latter. $20 billion later, and, you know, and millions of more people adopting a whole foods plant-based diet. He chose to meet people where they are and teach them. And that's what I'm really trying to impart. Like, we don't have to raise our fists necessarily. We can meet people where they are. Like right now, 4% of women are you know, or of women sit on decision-making boards of funds. That's because we're still on our way. You know, we're learning that, you know, women-led companies are outperforming male-led companies. We're learning that. Like, these funds are not stupid. They're learning that. They're going to start investing in more women-led companies, because women-led companies are outperforming male-led companies. And so there are certain things like that, or at least, you know, has at least one female founder. So there's a lot of things that are happening, but may we just do it in a way that's like working with each other. Like, men, we made the men. Like, I have a boy, I have a son. Like, we made them. Like, they, you know, we need them. We need them to have the next generation. Like, we don't want to be like us against them. Right. The future is female. You know, like I talk about that in my book too. Like, the future is female is doing exactly that which we're fighting against.
Right. There's a paradox there, right?
It's a paradox. Like, no, the future is all of us together as human, you know? And so I just feel like there's a way to think about business. There's a way to think about entrepreneurship. There's a way to think about, you know, moving into this new dynamic that exists post-COVID. The world is going to be very, very, very different. And I'm so interested to see the shakeup of how things are going to be. We're going back to smaller communities. We're going back to farming. People love gardening now. The gardening world is exploding. You know, really spending time with your close family and friends that you trust and love. It's not about how many friends and how many people can I get. It's like forming intimate, deeper connections. And that only creates more reverence for ourselves, for each other, for the planet. I think people are starting to care about, you know, using only single-use products versus, eliminating single-use products versus reusable products like Tushy. I mean, it's a very, very fascinating time right now.
It really is. People are we're really waking up, and it's hard. Waking up is really hard, but it's needed. I think it's really time, and it's really beautiful to also see the goodness of COVID as well, because like you said, you know, we can be, you know, just connected to one idea, but then also seeing the goodness. And I think also when we're in that sort of fight against ourselves, it's very, very hard to think positively, right? But at the same time, you know, like you said, it's like you create, you know, what you also envision, right? You create your world. Yeah. You create your world. You have the capacity to do that. So what kind of world do you want to live in? And it's a big question. And, you know, it's not just from your words, but it's through your actions. Show me what you're doing. Don't just talk to me about it, but show me, you know, show me. And same thing with business. You know, we could talk about business and you should do this and this and this, but without the action, without actually going there and trying it and testing it, it's just
over and over and over again for years. And so that's the testament. It's like, oh, you know, I tried to start this company and after 6 months it wasn't getting traction. So I kind of just, you know, decided I didn't raise a penny for a whole year. Like not one penny. I had probably 100 meetings and raised a big fat donut, you know, for THINX in the beginning. And then with Tushy as well, after that first meeting that got very lucky, but then thereafter it was like crickets and donuts also. And so it just sort of like, okay, like, you know, every day, day in, day out. And then you can't just be like, you know, hey, like I have an idea. It's like you have to go in with everything you've got because that's how much you believe in it. That's how much you care about it. That it's like moth to a flame, right? To be a flame every single time that you go out and speak about something passionately, like you like that. It needs to be a felt experience. It's like if someone puts their energy, gives you their money energy, you know, they have to feel like you ain't going to stop till it's successful. Like you are not going to stop. You're not going to be like, yeah, tried it out for a year or two. I mean, perfect example, my husband, Andrew. Oh, I'm so inspired by him. He spent the last 6 years building his company Tribute. Check out at tribute.co.
Yes, Tribute. Isn't that where you can send videos to people's birthdays and stuff like that? Yeah.
Yes. And he started Tribute 6 years ago. And then, like, you know, it just didn't quite. It's basically the idea is it collects videos from different people, edits them together in one video montage, so you can have a beautiful video gift as a birthday present, you know, wedding present, engagement present, whatever, any milestone in your life, graduation present, any milestone in your life. Imagine waking up and getting every one of your family and friends in a video telling you why they love you. So Tribute has made it really, really easy to collect videos from multiple sources and compile them into a
Andrew's here.
Hi,
he says
baby.
he loves you. Hi, Andrew.
And it's like such, I'm his hype man. And it's like, the story is so literally like remarkable because again, the first few years of business, he was just like, you know, trying to figure out how to get people to like fall in love with gratitude, you know? And it's like, people are not like, and it was hard because people were like, oh, I don't know if I want to share. I don't know. And so finally, like 6 years of slogging through it, 2 years ago, he stopped paying himself. He was like, I believe in this so much. I'm going to pay a developer. I'm going to pay customer service people, but I'm going to stop paying myself so I can just keep the business going. Yeah. Well, I mean, as soon as like this whole crazy pandemic hit and all the weddings, all the graduations, everything got stopped. I mean, the floodgates opened for Tribute. He's going to do, you know, $500,000, over $500,000 this month, 50% net profit margins. I mean, this business is like insane.
It's incredible. And the online industry right now is off the charts. And it's like, well done, Andrew. So great. So congratulations. Amazing.
It's really, and again, it's a story of perseverance. He was like, it was like, you know, we were just like, but he believed in it. He worked on other projects to kind of keep the bill, you know, get things, you know, keep his life going, but just kept this at bay because he is a fire that just every day he worked on his mobile app, which is launching in a few months. Every day he just had belief and passion that gratitude is going to change the world. And like a collective gratitude of people is just like, it's a love bomb. And it's just showing, like it's happening now. I am so proud of it. I'm so happy for him. He did it on his own with his team. Like, it's a remarkable story of perseverance. And that's what I'm trying to impart. It's like with Tushy, it's been 6 years. You know, with THINX, it's 6 years. With Tribute, it's been 6 years. So it's like
patience.
You know, but day in, day out, like undeniable, undying belief. You know, that's
amazing. Miki, that's so good. I know we are out of time because I know you have other engagements right now, but where can we find you? Where can we tell us a little bit about what you're doing right now, where we can find you, where we can grab your book, and let the listeners know what you're up to right now? Do you have a new business idea?
Yeah. Well, so you know, continuing to build Tushy. And then yeah, I'm working on a couple of new inventions right now, which I'm very, very excited about, which I'll tell you soon. And yeah, I mean, just one person had a question about about writing a book and sort of finding the passion to write the book. So I'll quickly answer that, and it's all good.
Yes, she said, where does your writing your books fit into your business vision? I've heard it's like birthing a baby each time you write a book. Would love to hear your perspective on this. Great question from Jenna.
It's so funny you said that, because I wrote the book, literally, I started writing it, like I birthed my baby, my actual child. And then I wrote my book in the first 2.5 months of my baby's birth, while he was sleeping and while he was napping and all of that, because I always had so much prana energy flowing inside of me. And how I did it was just, I put these sort of cue cards, like, you know, those cue cards. And I just had, okay, like I want to write a book about disruption, like disrupting the status quo, knowing that everything in the world is an illusion. Money is an illusion. Time is an illusion. The way we think about our careers is an illusion. Relationships, monogamous, just all the notions that are societally deemed approved, which are all, again, illusions. Everything's made up. Our borders are made up. You know, the passports are made up. Little things that you know, it's like the people.
Of course, money, the huge made up.
Every single thing in the world is made up. And the fact that we believe that this is the way it is just like, it's all an illusion. So I wanted to write this book that really shakes things up for people, to realize that we have the absolute agency in our lives to decide for ourselves exactly how we want to live, powerfully, embodied, like just kick ass authentically, without wearing the masks of society that makes us feel like we have to take medication and all this shit that people have to take to numb themselves. They can just live. It's just, no, life is like, you know, comes and goes like a fart in the wind. And like, we just need to really like give ourselves that permission. So this book, I want to create a permission slip. Anyways, so I basically laid it down in like, you know, 20, like I put down my chapters. I said, okay, I want to tell this story. I want to tell this story about money. Like I had basically the ideas of like the things in the world I want to disrupt. I'm like, okay, there's 13 major things that I want to disrupt in this world. And here's what they are, and here are the stories that align with this. I just mapped it all out. And it's like, you write about what you know. People often like, I'm going to write a really cerebral book about, it's like, no, if you're an expert in something, if you have a lane, just tell all those stories in that lane, and it'll just flow out of my whole book I wrote in 2.5 months. And so it's just sort of like, just that. And so it's like, oh, okay, this is a story. These are the concepts. These are the stories I want to tell. I'm just going to every day write a story, and you're just reliving a story. Or you're telling another story that you talk about somebody else, where you really go deep into their story, and then you tell your version of what their story is, and it's just sort of like that. It needs to be easy. Mm-hmm. If it's not easy and not in flow, then you shouldn't be writing the book, because it's not
good to go. Yeah,
it's not authentic. It's not, because if it's authentic, it just like you throw up on the page and it just comes out. But if not, it's a slog and it sucks. People are like, yeah, you know, I started my book and it's been like 3 years. I haven't finished it yet. I'm just trying to, you know, a lot of other things happen. I'm just trying to get my life together, you know, whatever. Versus like, no, you've got everything you want to say right here. And you're like, boom, oh my God, this story. I can't wait to tell. Oh my God, that story. Like, oh, it's going to give people, okay, this story. Yes. Oh my God, it's going to open people's eyes in this way. Oh my God, that. So it's just like, boom, boom. So
yes, so good.
That's the way to write, I think.
So good. So good. So good.
And it'll be a much easier experience.
Yeah. Some people are asking to have you on the show again for another round.
Let's do it.
Let's do it again. Let's do it again when we have more time. Miki, thank you so much for your time. Tell hello to Andrew, Kiss Hero for me, and let's connect after all of this is kind of, you know.
And
would love to see you.
If anybody wants to, if any of you have any questions, you can always DM me.
Yes.
You can always DM
and your website, just go to Miki Agrawal. Her website's there. All the stuff she's doing is on there. Follow her. She's amazing. Buy this book, you guys. Buy the book.
Yeah. Also, I actually just started doing a text messaging thing for more intimate connections. And so if you're interested in having a sort of a more intimate dialogue, I'm sharing a lot of my pages of my journal entries, because I feel like there's just so much in here that I feel is useful to other people that I just don't really want to keep to myself.
Yeah.
And so I'm sharing some of my journal pages via text. So the number is 917, if you want to write it down or whatever.
Let me write it down quickly.
Okay,
Hold on, can I?
Sure. It's
917
933 3036. And if you wanna just get some, just put a little journal book as your icon, and I'll share it with you. I'll start sharing my
awesome.
Journal. Every week as I'm inspired, I'm like, oh, I want to share this. You'll just get a more intimate. I'm not sharing my journal and pages with everyone, just those who text me. So
awesome. Yes, yeah. Guys, yes, text her, and I would love to see some of your journal pages. Miki, again, thank you. Be well. Have a great Sunday. Talk to you soon.
Everyone.
Okay, thank you so much.
Soon. Thanks, Beeb. Take care. Bye.
You too. All right, guys. So again, her book, Disrupt Her, it's a game changer. It's a game changer. It's incredible. I mean, it's not only just a disruption book, but it's also about business. It's also about, the journey that she's gone through. It's all about, thinking differently and disrupting in this day and age. She talks about, also to overcome self-doubt and insecurities. Okay, so regardless of the ups and downs, and I think we all go through that, is that sense of, self-doubt. Can I really do this? Can I really make it? Does this idea, can it really take me to that next level? And it always comes down to self-belief. And one final thing I want to mention is that she gives you in this book permission to be fully you, to fully own your differences. And that's what makes a wonderful and a great entrepreneur, is to really honor your differences, to look at the market and to really see what is missing. What are some things that I can do from my own experience, from our stories? We can create a business that is not only for ourselves, but changing humanity and changing people's lives, as well as that energy that Miki talked about, that continuous frequency. Thank you so much, you guys, for being here. I will be back next week, next Sunday. On the show, I have Sa de Simone. Sa is an extraordinary spiritual teacher. He's the creator of Spiritually SAS Methods. And I can't wait to have him on the show to talk a little bit about his journey and spirituality, as well as his journey through India, and how that was a life changer. He's incredible. He's incredible. Thank you. Have a great Sunday, and I'll see you next time on Sacred Sunday. Be well.